My GPS had one job, and it failed spectacularly. It led me down a winding, forgotten road as dusk settled, blanketing the world in a thick, eerie fog. The town I was supposed to be heading to simply vanished from the map, replaced by miles of empty countryside. And then I saw it. A lone house, dilapidated and ancient, perched on a hill like a vulture. Its windows were dark, except for one on the second floor where a faint light flickered, beckoning. My car sputtered and died right as I pulled up, as if on cue. I was about to call for a tow when the porch light flicked on, by itself. A cold dread crept up my spine, but the thought of spending the night in a dead car was worse. So, I got out. The front door was unlocked. It swung open with a low groan that echoed through the silent interior. The air inside was thick with the smell of dust and decay, but strangely, it wasn't empty. A fine layer of dust covered everything: the grand piano in the corner, the moth-eaten armchairs, the cobweb-draped chandelier. Everything except a small, round table in the center of the room. On it sat two delicate porcelain teacups, one of which was still steaming, a faint wisp of warmth curling into the chilly air. My heart pounded against my ribs. I wasn't alone, and just as that thought crossed my mind, a voice drifted down from the floor above. A soft, feminine whisper that sent a fresh wave of ice through my veins. It called my name. Emily ... Quotes, every instinct screamed at me to run, to get back in the car and lock the doors. But the voice, it sounded lost, like someone needed help. I convinced myself that's all it was. A squatter? Maybe? An old woman who lived here, isolated from the world. I called out, "Hello, is someone there?" But only the groaning house answered. I started up the grand, creaking staircase, my hand trailing along the dusty banister. Wait. Each step the whispers grew louder, swirling around me like the fog outside. They weren't just calling my name anymore. They were murmuring fragments of my childhood memories, private thoughts, things no one else could possibly know. I felt a growing sense of unease, a terrifying familiarity, because the voice calling my name, the more I listened, the more I realized it was mine. It sounded exactly like me, calling from a room at the end of the upstairs hallway. The hallway was a gallery of distorted reflections. Cracked, warped mirrors lined the walls, each one showing a slightly different version of me to lure, thinner, with eyes that held a knowing, sinister glint. I avoided looking at them, focusing on the closed door at the very end of the hall, where the voice seemed to be coming from. Te atik. I pushed the door open, revealing a room filled with even more mirrors, all of them ancient and covered in scratches, but in the center stood one large, ornate mirror that was perfectly clean. In its reflection, I saw myself, trembling, and then my reflection smiled, even though my own lips were pressed into a thin, terrified line. "You shouldn't have come here," it said, its voice a perfect mimicry of my own, but laced with a chilling amusement. "Ispunarumed." My heart leaping into my throat. The room behind me was empty. There was nothing there. But when I looked back at the mirror, I saw it, a tall, slender shadow moving just behind my reflection's shoulder, its form indistinct, but its presence suffocating. My legs felt like lead as I backed away from the mirror room, stumbling into a small study next door. An old tape recorder sat on a mahogany desk, a single cassette inside. My hand trembled as I pressed the play button. The tape hissed with static, and then a voice cut through the noise of my voice, filled with a frantic desperation I didn't recognize. "If you're hearing this, get out. Leave now. The house, it knows things. It answers questions, but it always takes something in return. Don't ask it anything. Don't you dare." The recording cut out abruptly. The air in the room dropped several degrees, and the lights in the house flickered and dimmed, plunging me into near darkness. A horrifying realization dawned on me. This house wasn't haunted by ghosts or spirits. It was haunted by something far more terrifying. It was haunted by answers, and like a fool, I had one question. A question that had gnawed at me for years. A dark void in my memory that I could never fill. Standing there in the suffocating darkness, I whispered it into the silence. Who killed my sister? The house responded instantly. The floorboards groaned as if under an immense weight. Every door in the house slammed shut with a deafening bang that shook the very foundation. And then the whispers returned. No longer just my voice, but a chorus of voices, swirling around me, coming from the walls, the floor, the air itself. They all spoke in unison, delivering the one answer I never wanted to hear. You did. The words shattered the dam in my mind. The memory I had buried so deep flooded back in a torrent of horrifying images. The fog on the road. It wasn't this road, but another one, years ago. The sharp curve I took too fast. My sister, Sarah, screaming my name from the passenger seat. The sickening crunch of metal. The shattering of glass. The world turning upside down. I remembered crawling from the wreckage, dazed and bleeding. She was still alive. Trapped her voice a weak whisper, begging me not to leave her. But I did. I panicked. I ran. I left her there to die alone in the dark. The guilt was a physical weight, crushing the air from my lungs. I had told everyone it was a hit and run. I had lied to my parents, to the police, to myself. The house knew. The house knew everything. I stumbled back into the mirror room, drawn by an unseen force. My reflection stood waiting for me. It was no longer just a reflection. It had depth, substance. It stepped forward, its smile wide and triumphant. The house has your answer, it said, its voice calm and final. And now, it has you. As it spoke, it stepped out of the mirror, a perfect, horrifying duplicate of me. While I felt myself being pulled forward, my feet sliding across the floor, the mirror's surface rippled like water. The reflection reached for me, its cold fingers brushing against mine as it took my place in the room. The mirror shattered into 1,000 pieces, and the world faded to black. The last thing I heard was my own voice, humming a soft, contented tune in the house that now owned my truth. They say the old house on the hill only appears to those who are running from something. It doesn't want to haunt you with ghosts. It wants to haunt you with the truth you've tried to bury. It offers answers, but the price is always yourself. This morning, a new car pulled up to the house. The driver looked lost, their face etched with a familiar, hidden pain. And from an upstairs window, a light flickered, and a warm, inviting porch light switched on. The house is always waiting. Some questions should never be asked. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy stories that get under your skin, be sure to subscribe for more.